Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, and wherever you're at, once you be watching this live or on YouTube. My name is Danny Lay. I am a librarian here at the Santa Clara City Library, and we have such a special guest here today to talk about this beautiful new cookbook, the Red Book Cookbook by the Red Boat Fish Sauce Company, and we have the two co-authors, Tien Nguyen and Diep Tran here, talking with us. I'm excited to talk about this book. Not only is it well made, meticulously designed, the colors of Vietnam are in these pages, but as I read this book, I couldn't help but think about my mom's cooking, my grandma, family. You know, it every moment in this page was like, yeah, they captured it, everything about them, even the labor. So, you know, I'm gonna give some intros before we dip into it, but I'm just gushing, so I'm gonna gush. Give me that privilege, please, at least to do that.
Okay, I'm gonna turn off our video while you do that.
All right. So, anyways, and as we get in with the talk, everybody out there, I see y'all, 24 y'all. If you have questions, please hit it in the chat or in the Q&A function. I will try my best to get into it because I have plenty of questions myself, but you know, we want to make sure we're taking care of y'all too. Anyways, as we introduce our lovely authors, Tien Nguyen is a food writer and the co-author of 3 books, including LA Sun, My Life, My City, My Food with Chef Roy Choi, and of course the Red Book Fish Sauce Cookbook. She is previously the senior food writer for LA Weekly, and her work has also appeared in Los Angeles Times, Lucky Peach, LA Taco Interview, and Jari, amongst other publications. Diep Tran is the former chef and owner of Good Girl Dinette in the Highland Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. I can't believe I missed out. She has been featured in the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, Lucky Peach, Savor, and the Chef in David Chang's chef show, Netflix series Ugly Delicious, and KCET's Migrant Kitchen. Her published work and recipes have appeared in NPR's The Salt, LA Weekly, LA Times, and New York Times. Since closing her award-winning restaurant, she has worked as the R&D chef for the Red Boat Fish Sauce Company and is the founder of the widely popular Benjung Collective, a project born out of the desire to affirm and strengthen community bonds between women, LGBTQIA, and people of color that happens every year during the Lunar New Year, which is coming in a few weeks. So I know the kits are being sold out everywhere across the nation, which is a good sign that people are ready. So good stuff. But anyways, welcome, Tien Diep. We're just grateful to have you here. Now, before we kick off, I just had to ask, what did your poor parents think about your career choices when you both pursued it? I don't know, maybe they were supportive. I definitely, when I said I was gonna be a librarian to my parents, they're like, "A what? Does that make money?" Yeah, so let me know. I this is just for me, really.
Well, you know, we're both in our second careers.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. I mean, I did the thing that I think a lot of people do, which is I went to law school, became a lawyer. So I actually practiced for a few years, and I was very depressed. It was very soul crushing. And I'm very fortunate that my mother is very understanding, and my mother is a writer too, actually. And so it's kind of her fault, I have to say. And so when I told her, I was like, look, I can't do this anymore. My whole world feels so small, and I was in a real bad place, you know. And yeah, I mean, I feel so fortunate that my mom she saw that, and she was like, yeah, get the fuck out of this. Terrible. This is not worth it. And and so I just transitioned to writing, and she was totally supportive of it. I think she still holds out hope that I'm gonna be a judge. Which is that ship has sailed, but I think you know, she always says, well, you know, it's a good thing to fall back on, being a lawyer. So I have this in my back pocket, apparently.
It's all right. You get the judge all the time, you know. You get to judge food, people, you know, it's all good. You're a judge.
Court of media, court of public opinion, not the court of law. But yes, you know, more culturally is more powerful, I think, sometimes.
I think so. Yeah, hey, you touched upon the great three: lawyer, engineer, doctor. It's all right. You did for a time.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one of Tien's favorite songs is Crazy Ex-Girlfriend's Don't Be a Lawyer.
Have you ever seen that TV show?
That is the best song.
I really do encourage you to, if you think about being a lawyer, just maybe Google that video and really make sure you want to be a lawyer.
And don't be a lawyer.
Nothing wrong with my lawyers out there. We need you. Sometimes we do need you.
Do we? Do we need another lawyer arguing for another pharmaceutical company against another pharmaceutical company?
Okay, we're gonna have to stop there, Diep. All right, we're gonna stop there. But we'll carry on a different day in time. I got the drinks. Don't worry.
I've always been the black sheep of the family, so I did not care, and I do not care now. I'm like, I'm coming out. What else? So it was actually funny because I worked in nonprofit for 10 years before I worked in. I became a restaurateur, and so for 10 years they kind of didn't understand what exactly I did, and I kind of couldn't really explain to them. Like, actually, in the very beginning, I was going to gay clubs at 2 a.m. and talking to people about how to be safe with like the person they're about to hook up with and making sure they don't double bag. You know what I mean? It's like, grandma. So I was just like, what is it? Like I said, something like, big saddle, you know, something like that. And she's like, I don't know. So, but then, and then I've always kind of wanted to be a restaurateur, but I just felt a calling to do nonprofit work. And so 10 years after I graduated college, I said, hey, I'm gonna start a restaurant. And like all of a sudden, grandma and like aunties are like, okay, that's a terrible choice, but we understand it. Like, I don't understand what you're doing with HIV prevention. But yeah, so they kind of understood me more, but at the same time, like, I'm not gonna replicate what you did. So so as always, I stayed on brand, and I didn't do what the generation before me did. But my grandpa was like a huge supporter, always a cheerleader, and you know, like even though he didn't understand my work, but especially when I became a restaurateur, he was just like so gung-ho, and he was like, you have so much talent, you're gonna do so great. Some people just never have the guts to just strike out on their own. And you know, and I named a porridge after him, and I was like, Grandpa, I'm making a porridge, it's called Grandpa's Porridge. And he goes, oh, because you know, you eat porridge every day, and that's what you attribute this to young longevity. He goes, I do. And I go, I'm making with brown rice. He goes, the fuck.
You know, like, he was so proud to point to the brown rice tin. You're gonna make chow with brown rice.
But many years of being out already, goes, okay, I already know what you're not gonna do. So, but he went to the restaurant, he tried it, and he goes, okay, I'm not worried about you. And like, my brother was the one that drove him to the restaurant because I was, you know, there. And then he signaled that he was done, true grandpa style. He goes, okay, I'm ready to go home. He takes a plastic straw out of his glass and puts it in his pocket. I'm like, I'm ready. Like, you know, he's not gonna waste a straw. I'm like, and I was like, I looked at my brother, he's ready. He signaled, he's ready. He got his straw, he's ready to go.
These two stories have been quite an opening, and I love you both more than I did before. This is great. Oh man. So thank you for sharing those stories, and I can see why where you're at now. I'm glad you stayed on brand. I'm glad you stopped being a lawyer. You know, and there's nothing soul crushing with lawyers. I see Eugene there. You know, it's sometimes it's not for everybody. People, it's not for everybody. You know?
Yeah, I can answer that real quick. Like I tell this to I teach students, and one of the things that I just had an idea of what being a lawyer was, and I think I would have really benefited from working in a legal office before I actually went to law school. And so it's just so much work. It's so much of a type of work that I just didn't like to do. And I worked at a big firm, a mid-sized firm, but had big firm mentality. So it's just like just the billables. I was working like 100 hours a week. It was just, and it was not work that I love doing. So that was
there you go, folks. So when you find, or if your children, if they find something, give them the a place that they can apply that knowledge, and they'll find out whether they like it or not. And it's okay. Let them move on. And if there's Vietnamese people out there with kids, let them break the rules sometimes, because they'll end up okay too. You know, let them love what they love. So both of you have built a repertoire within, you know, this culinary world as Vietnamese American women, but, you know, not only are you both helping to elevate these flavors and narratives for, you know, new eyes, ears, and tongues, but, you know, from my perspective, you're also helping strengthen the important role of Vietnamese women and how they play in this world beyond the gender, you know, limitations that are often seen in patriarchal systems, and something we're still working on fixing every day. Do you both see yourselves as agents of change and shifting these cultural paradigms? Or do you see that happening out as you continue to do your work in writing and cooking and publishing as well?
Oh, that's a good question. Do you see yourself as an agent of change?
Well, I kind of don't think of it that way, even though that might be the effect. It's more like, what pisses us off, you know? And we just don't want to conform to the things that we think are kind of bull, you know? And it's just because that's like the rules that are set forth in front of us. And we're like, why? You know? And then if that creates change or not, you know, it's great. But, you know, it changes, is incremental change is like, you know, like no one person can attribute like I created that, but like any kind of organizer understands it's a cultural shift that's many people on many fronts, and then you affect that change. You know, there might be a leader that the media appoints, but really in the end it is all these like different communities, different pockets and neighborhoods and organizing groups that do that work. So I think we align with that.
Yeah.
Would you say? Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know, when I first started writing, I really thought I had to conform to a certain style. I thought I had to conform to a certain voice. And it was because I was not trained in journalism, you know, like I had a legal background, but so I wrote the way that I saw, I wrote the way the articles, like I read it. I was like, okay, I should sound like that. And, you know, I think as I got more comfortable, more confident, I realized I do not like writing like that. Like it pisses me off that I have to italicize Vietnamese words in my articles, right? And so after a while, I think I gained enough confidence to say, I don't want to do this. And I lost, you know, like for years, I tried to convince editors to not italicize what they thought were foreign words. And I never won. I was like, I think I would have maybe made a little more headway if I was a staff writer, but as a freelancer, you just have so little power. And so if you're lucky enough to find a sympathetic editor who go to bat for you and like say, yeah, you know, I support your idea, I think this is right, then, you know, you can leverage their power to help bring what you want to effectuate come to fore. But yeah, like as a freelancer, you don't always have a lot of power. So like with this book, one of the things we did was we made sure that the Vietnamese words are not italicized. And if that helps, like I think there are other cookbook authors who kind of have been able to successfully convince their editors and publishers to do the same. And so if that helps set a precedent, I think that's really great. But I do want systemic change. I really do. But at the root of it, like I just don't want to be fighting about this stuff anymore. Like it is such a waste of time. It's a waste of labor, my labor, energy, and it's just, it could so better channel that to actually writing a book instead of just explaining to people how something is racist, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think we're invested in the process and in the fight for it. Are we invested in the change that might happen? We're gonna be apoplectic if we do that.
Yeah.
So it's like we're just gonna fight that. We win or not, you know.
Yeah, because everything just fits and starts, right? Like how many times has food media over the last 10 years said we're going to do better? And over the last 2 years in particular, food media said we're going to do better, but the mastheads have stayed the same. It's still the same gatekeepers, you know?
And so, one or two people BIPOC people in the door is not systemic change, you know?
Far from it. It's couple.
Yeah.
But I believe by even in as you mentioned through this book, for me to read Vietnamese with all the freaking accents I'm like, you know, I had to go back to my elementary Vietnamese Catholic school nun teaching on Sundays to remind myself, all right, how am I going to read this? Oh, yeah. I felt like you helped me a lot. I was like, all right, this is why I want to. I don't want to read it in italicized or just in regular Roman, you know, letters. You know, I love it the way it looks, and I'm glad whoever had the typeset fonts for it. Good, you're gonna publish it the way it should look like, you know. And I hope everybody reads out like that, you know.
Yeah, like that is one thing that burns. Like when you read an article online and there's a different font because the diacritical marks can't handle that, like that, whatever that font is, it doesn't conform to the diacritical marks. And so when you read it, you know,
it looks jacked up.
Weird. And it's like, oh, you know, like just little things like that just tells you who they're centering in those publications, you know, and yeah.
So yeah, you are agents of change in my heart. Thank you. Anyway, moving on to the next question. Anyway, so let's get into the nitty gritty. How did you both start working for the Red Boat Fish Sauce Company? I know in your bios, you collaborate in many ways, but how did that happen? When did that start, and how did that lead to the creation of this cookbook?
Well, I officially work for Red Boat as a consultant. Tien is only the writer, but that doesn't mean that I'm like, hey Tien, you know, what do you think? So, yeah, I know you're really busy and you're important, but yeah, again. So I do pass through Tien a lot, and you know, so anyway.
Shotgun. That's it.
I mean, it's such a hardship for me. Yeah.
So I think when I started working with Red Boat, I was just strategizing like what steps Red Boat could take. You know, like we were thinking about chef's collaboration. Like we did this collaboration, Chef Salt, and then we ended up doing contracting a Le Bon Garçon, Asian American gay queer confectioner to make caramels. You know, like I just wanted to, like, you know, like Red Boat. I just felt like, you know, it's people only think of it as savory, so I really want, like, let's do something that is sweet, you know, and then like, and I'm not a candy maker, so I'm like, let's find a candy maker to do this. So I just wanted to be able to, like, a lot of these are one-offs that we did. We're kind of like fan service, you know, like Red Bull has a lot of fans, and you know,
you were like the OG fan.
I was, you know, I'm a I would say I'm a day oneer. Okay. And so
own it.
I mean? Like I was like, I mean, literally I tasted I tasted Red Bull and I changed all my recipes. I've created a new restaurant in essence to change it all, to calibrate it for Red Bull, you know. And so I wanted to, like, these are little, you know, like Easter eggs for like true fans, you know. And so so when we were thinking about that, I was talking to Tien, like, what do you think with this? And Thien's always like my sounding board for everything. And Tien goes, when did Red Bull start? And I go, I think like 2011. And Thien's like, 10 years almost coming up, you should write a cookbook. And I'm like, this is an awesome idea. And so the next meeting I had with Red Bull, I said, Tien, can you come on? And we just pitched it, you know, and we said, like, you know, hey, if it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. You know what I mean? Like, but Tien is a seasoned writer in terms of proposal, you know. Seasoned. Okay.
With Red Boat.
Okay.
Let me try my hand at selling this.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what we did. We thought it would be a great way to celebrate 10 years. And then knowing that it takes about 2 years, a little over 2 years to do it, it was like the perfect timing. And this officially did come out in 2021.
Yeah, just barely.
But like 2 days before the end. You know, so we got to celebrate the 10 year in 2 days. But yeah, that's kind of how Tien got roped into this officially. Yeah. And so, you know, from the get-go, we knew we wanted to tell the story of Cuong's family. But really, you know, just Cuong's, like, the impetus for him starting this this company really is for his mom, you know, and just like all the happy circumstances along the way that made him become a fish sauce maker, because he just wanted, in the beginning, he didn't want to like run this company. He just wanted to have fish sauce. So I won't spoil it, but it's just kind of this funny happenstance that I think is kind of also like a lot of Vietnamese American experiences are like, and then this weird thing happened, and then it changed my trajectory. And then I stepped on a boat, and all of a sudden I'm in another country. You know, like it's just like there was like kind of no plan.
I mean, the way you say it, only a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
But it's true. It's true. Like I just have like, you know, someone like your mom talked about how like somebody just happened to tell that there's this boat over there, and like jump on it. You know, like it's just like there was no packing a bag. You're like, just go, girl, just go, and whatevs, you know. And so yeah, so that's kind of like, so we wanted the book to be Cuong's journey. So the story is Cuong's, the words are Tien's, and the recipes are mine, with the inclusion of, you know, adaptation of their his mother's recipe, you know. So that's kind of how we divvied it up, even though it was very collaborative between me and Tien. But you know, anybody who has ever like written a cookbook, you can talk all you want, but putting the words down on a page is a whole set of skills, you know. And Tien did all that.
I wish you could shut off my side of the room.
I know, but that's what I want to hear now. So we got the timeline. It was a 2-year process, right?
Yeah.
So how is that process of gathering the information to create this book? I mean, yeah, we get to hold it now, but we're always curious about when people make cookbooks, like how long did it take to, you know, synthesize, especially if you're gathering recipes from a family, right? Was it like looking at his mother's scrawling cookbook, you know, by her impeccable handwriting and you know, recipes that, especially for you, Diep, you know, to, you know, kind of reorganize into the fit this? Because I can tell there's like, I read these recipes, I'm like, yeah, I know my mom has a variation of that. But when I'm reading it, I'm like, it's different here, you know? And it makes me think like, you know, because I haven't tasted everything yet. So how did that work out into creating this? You know, especially with the photographer also being in Vietnam. I mean, like, this is like a global project right here, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot of moving parts. I think with a cookbook, like half of it is just project management, honestly. Like Cuong was very open with me. Like we had a lot of conversations. I would spend days with him where we just talked, and you know, it is his book and his story. And so like as a co-writer, you really want to capture his voice, right? You want to really capture who he is and try to translate it to a page, which is very difficult if you don't spend a lot of time with that person. So yeah, it was a lot of just hanging out with him, just shooting the breeze, eating, tasting different things. You know, I asked him a lot of questions about Red Boat, the operations. You know, I would read articles about him, and we would kind of break down the articles, just talk about what was covered and what was not covered, and why, and what would be right in the book. Because at the end of the day, again, it's a book that celebrates Red Boat and his journey to create it, and the recipes that were sort of in his sense memory, his taste memory that he wanted to recreate here. So yes, it was a lot of conversations, a lot of conversations with him, a lot of conversations with his daughters, who were very integral to helping us taste test, recipe test, to make sure that the recipes that, you know, like we have a couple recipes from Anne, Cuong's wife, and you know, we kind of adapted it, you know, to, you know, it's hard, you know, because if you anytime you cook anything, it's different, you know. And so just trying to tell somebody like, look, you got to write down, you squeeze lime, you got to let us know you do that, right? And so it's just, how do you systematize something and standardize something? So it was a lot of that, a lot of back and forth, a lot of give us the recipe, we'll try it, then you test it, tell us it tastes like what your mom makes, have your mom taste it, make sure it tastes like what she would make. And then I would talk to Diep, I would talk to the family and ask them, like, give me the background of this recipe, you know, like give me a little story, like tell me how this recipe comes about. And then it is a cookbook. I mean, it is a storybook. So many cookbooks really focus on stories, which is really great and important, but it is a cookbook at the end of the day. So you do want to be practical and say, look, if you need to sub out something, you can do it. If you don't have a grill, you can put it on, you can cook on the stove. So it's just like little tips like that, you know, round out the whole book.
It is also kind of like an album, you know, like it's not a disparate, you know, collection of recipes. The recipes all have to talk to each other.
Yeah.
You know, so like at the core, we looked at, you know, I would say like our source material would be like Cuong's mom's recipe book. And we didn't use a lot of it, but we wanted ones that had meaning to the family, and also some things that we were really interested in.
Yeah.
Like there was like a tibaroy one that I don't think they'd ever tasted it, but I was like, I recognize this recipe, and I think this is an interesting recipe. And so like we wanted that kind of was like the framing, like the skeleton a little bit, and then from there we built out like, okay, let's round this out, and that's kind of how we went about it. Like we couldn't like, Vietnamese people love pork, so we got a lot of pork in there, but we're like, let's round out, let's get the seafood, which we also love, like let's see what the beef is, and then the vegetable dishes,
breakfast dishes,
we kind of wanted to like that was like very collaborative.
Yeah.
Like how it would just like when you open the table of contents, that transmits like what this book is about too. Right. And that needed to have some sense of order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is hard. And we went back and forth with the organization because recipes, like it's a very artificial construction chapters. Like you have a fish soup, it could easily go in the soup section and also go in the fish section. Like how do you make a decision about where that recipe gets slotted? So it is a process of just figuring out what makes most sense. And if we're cooking from it as well as consumers, how would we look at it and access these recipes will be most intuitive for us to look for and look at. So yeah, like a lot of that. We definitely wanted a feast chapter because Zo'o is so important. Yeah. Especially because it is an homage to his Gong's mother. Like how can you not have a section that includes some of the Zo'o food, which is like that food at the same time. It's similar.
We celebrate, celebration food, and which is all delicious.
And then we wanted to have a call chapter, which was really fun.
So because people do not know about call, and we wanted also to use the word call. Like no shade to caramelized pork, but call it by its name.
Call it by its name. Hey,
we have so many fun
titles for that chapter.
I am gonna make a T-shirt for you just with that right there. That's so good.
But like pho, banh mi, like
the staples, right?
You need to know pho. Yeah, and I bristle every time they say pho, Vietnamese national dish. BS, because caw is like the heart and soul and marrow. Like caw is everything, okay? And caw at the center of caw, unless you're vegetarian, is fish sauce. So it was just like we definitely wanted that.
And then one of his Cuong's favorite recipes is his mother's caw, right? Like so it just made so much sense that we have a whole chapter on it and that we call it caw. Like it was, again, we were just very fortunate to have an editor to really be okay with what we were asking in terms of like, we're gonna call this chapter caw. We're not gonna call it caramelized and braised, whatever.
Yeah, that's
like, I mean, it's
those who are not familiar, that's what they call it. So you can order that, but it's caw. Ask for caw, right? It just made my mouth water like crazy every time I just looking at those pages and reading the description of all the caw you put in there. I was like, I actually called my mom. I was like, hey, what are we doing for Lunar New Year? What are you making? Can you make some? So you made some tea caw, with some chung. She's like, you want to do that? Yes, that's what I want to do, Mom. Now, see, I love that you're all the elements that synthesize into this cookbook, and just hearing about how you brought the narrative together. Because through the first book that I read from yours with Roy Choi, man, that was a memoir and cookbook, like you said. And I love how you interweave Cuong's story into this, because I hope people buy the cookbook, because his story's up there with all the other success stories I've ever looked up to, from tech entrepreneurs to everything. But it's just a funny thing that he worked in tech, that led him to reminisce about family, his mom, and wanting to have a taste of that past again, which now became my mom's favorite fish sauce. 10 years ago, when it came out, I was like, why would we want to pay for this? It's like 3 times the price of the bottle we got at home. Then, now she buys it by the caseload. It's kind of crazy, so here we go.
because it really is your the good fish sauce is your culinary heritage, your culinary legacy. You know, like that's like Italians understand the importance of their olive oils.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like understand all the points of like all these artisanal products of theirs, Parmigiana Reggiana, you know, like they understand where, like, you know, they don't say it's just Parmesan, it's Parmigiana Reggiana coming from this area, you know, like Parma ham, you know, like for us, like food good fish sauce, man, food good fish sauce, okay. Like, yeah, anyway, I'm sorry to be aggressive.
No, you be aggressive, you know, that's the intensity we need to feel. I mean, through the, I mean, to be honest, you know, even with the helpfulness, you know, most cookbooks are not the easiest to follow if you don't have the necessary training. Because as I read it and saw that beginning ingredients list, I was like, that's my mom's kitchen, unlabeled jars, all colors. I don't even know what's in there, but she knows what to do with all of them. So definitely, it's what do you suggest for people who are just first trying out, wanting to experiment with Southeast Asian flavors? What can they do if they feel a little overwhelmed by the amount of ingredients that they have to purchase?
Well, I think the first would be to explore the chapter on the nước chấm spectrum. Mm-hmm. So once you have nước chấm, you almost have dinner. You know what I mean?
Which is the dipping sauce.
Yeah, so you can use it to dip wings. We have wings. You know, we have we try to like have recipes that are kind of like projects, you know, because it's by nature, like bунzio is not going to be easy. Okay, that's just gotta just lean into the not easy part of bунzio.
Yeah, that's crab noodle soup.
Yeah, the crab noodle soup or the lotus salad. Lotus salad is like you gotta love somebody like a lot. So like the hell out of them, because it's so much julienning of, so don't do that. Don't like if you're like a college student, it's not even like you're like not new to Vietnamese food, but just new to cooking. I'd say master the all-purpose nước chấm, which is a dipping sauce, and that you can pour over rice, right? You can pour over noodles. You use as a dip for like egg rolls or spring rolls. All right, so that I would go with that, and then something really easy that you can fry or you can do in an air fryer is the taro turmeric shrimp. Again, very easy. Our chicken wings are pretty damn good too.
Yeah,
you know, and that's easy. And that's not we have like a southern fried chicken recipe, but we also have one that's just like it's not just a batter. Wings. Yeah, it's with tapioca starch. So those things are like,
and there's a spaghetti recipe. The marinara sauce is very easy. It's very easy. Yeah. We kind of were geeking out. Who was the who posted on IG that she made it, and we're like, what? It was Rose Levy. I forgot her last name, but she wrote the bread Bible. And so so I learned how to make bread. So she was like, I like this breadcrumb that they made. I'm like, okay. So so like, you know, again, like Vietnamese people, we're not afraid of a project, but sometimes we're busy too, so we're not trying to do too much. And so those are the recipes I would say. Like there are some that are just like the ingredients are pretty spare, but they still pack a punch. I mean, even like the breakfast banh mi, like you could get the bacon at the market if you want to. You get the bread. Really, what you're making is a scrambled eggs, and all you're doing there is you're just adding some fish sauce to it, which every Vietnamese person does, and they're like, "That's my secret. That's my secret is add fish sauce to scrambled eggs." And but don't tell anyone. But that's like the easiest. That's like the easiest, probably one of the easiest things to do in terms of just understanding what fish sauce can do to something as simple as eggs. Like once you get that, then I think it kind of opens the portal to understanding how it works in other recipes. Yeah, and then when you graduate, you can for a party do Justin Chow's bric-a-brac, which we sold as a limited series, which is like red boat, salt, caramel Chex Mix. It's amazing. So I think with cashews too. I think, I forget, but it was, so you can, you know, I always kind of like, Tien's really great because she'll be like, that's a little too chefy, Diep, you know, like she'll bring me back, you know, and it's not like I want to be chefy, but it's hard to get out of the mentality. So it was great to be like, no, don't do that to people. You know, welcome everyone.
But okay. Let me
Well,
think about how like a normal person.
if I ever get to eat your food, I'll always let you be chefy. I'll never judge. You be chefy for me.
Yeah, then in that case, I'm only hurting myself.
Mm-hmm. I would like to know, how has, now that the book's out into the world, how has been the general response of the cookbook? What were some of the more surprising comments or reviews that you got with Red Boat, and since it dropped, but also from the culinary world, maybe the Asian community and the global community in general. Because every time I see a Vietnamese cookbook, and it's the design and kind of the way that it goes is very traditional, super traditional. I feel like I need to be more elegant and wear ao dai and stuff. Hey, nothing wrong with that, but I was like, when I read this book, I was like, this is so different. I like it a lot. It's so great. Can you tell us how you felt when it got out to the world? Were you nervous and scared?
Well, I have so much anxiety. I have so much anxiety about it.
I think Tien's been getting DMs from writers she knows and folks, and then I think I have this too, but Tien in particular, she's very Sally Fields. You like me, you really like me, like definitely. Tien's like super. I mean, really, you compliment Tien, and she just wants to punch you, like she was very uncomfortable. So yeah, Tien's always worried about what she didn't do right, But this time we know it's not a perfect book, and we hope that books that come after us kind of expand on what we were talking about. So as like any good discourse, it never is static. But yeah, I think we're definitely taken by pleasant surprise when NPR included us in their books we love, and we almost fell out of our chair, like, So and because I felt like we wanted to write a cookbook that was on our own terms, like we weren't trying, like when you I get what you're saying about like the elegant and the ao dai. It's like this respectability politics. We just didn't want, we wanted on our own terms. We weren't trying to convince people that Vietnamese food is good. You know what I mean? It was just like take all that noise out, and what do we love? And like what and the vibe, it's a vibe, right? And like it was very intentional that this book was not formal. It's very intense, but the food is undeniable. You know what I mean? Like
money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so like it's food, I think, has become something that's like bragging rights. That's like that you create a fence around it, and we're like, fuck all that, like we wanted food that invites people in, surprises you, wows the pants out of you, but like at the but like is even like the simplest recipe, like I think like a newbie, all you have to do is the scallion oil, mm-hmm. which is only 4 ingredients: scallions, fish sauce, a tad bit of sugar, and oil. You can put it on rice and your mind will be blown. Put some tofu in there, blown some more. You know what I mean? Put it on corn, you're dead. What I mean? Like it's why am I like this?
Resuscitate.
Gatling gun.
So violent.
I know. I'm gonna love bomb you now. So we wanted to have I think that's what's the most rewarding, I think, for me, is to have people to have that register with people. Like, we didn't want it. Yeah, we just didn't want to, like, we wanted to be very confident, mm-hmm. And sometimes I think like when you dress up for somebody, because you're afraid of what they're gonna judge you as, versus like, this is me, girl, this is all me. Sit on this plastic stool, you're gonna have a great time, and that's the kind of vibe we wanted. And so we didn't want even the food styling. We had a really great team. Like Oriana is our photographer, amazing photographer. And like from the beginning, they're like, we were telling what we wanted, and they're like, okay, here's some mood boards on exactly, mm-hmm. And we didn't want exotica. We wanted Vietnam, but we didn't want exotica, and we just didn't want just Vietnam. We wanted Vietnam, Cali, Vietnam, Cali, Mex, Vietnam. You know what I mean? Like just the hybridity that we live in, you know, and not some sort of like structure, like, oh, you're Vietnamese, you have 1 foot here, 1 foot. No, I don't have 1 foot here or there, both feet everywhere. You know what I mean? And so that's, you know, in right. Sorry, she's laughing at me. Tien is like,
Yo, Diep, you are off the chain right now. This is so dope. I get it because when I reading this book and looking at the photos, you know, the encompass, I was like, I'm in the east side of San Jose. Yo, I'm in my hood right now. You know, I'm about to go eat with some aunties and uncles who are either
have great style. Who have great style. Yeah.
And I like that. The intentions of this book is to show, like, you know, because food, I guess today's food world and culture, how fast it moves and gets spread out, it can get hyper elevated into something that, you know, that people think and it's like beyond you. But I'm like, dude, that's just like you know, Cuong Pham. That's it. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you acting like it's like the king's meal? You know, hey, I love Cuong Pham. It is kingly or queenly in flavor, but I was like, it's Cuong Pham. It's just broken rice and a pork chop and a, you know, egg, a little corner egg custard thing. I'm like, it's cool. Well, you know, you're tripping. Now, when I'm paying $30 for that, then there's an issue. You know, then I'm like, all right, we can't do that.
$30.
Damn good.
I paid $30. Just like that king was fed acorns and so I'm okay, you know, like I'm willing to pay farmers what they need if like they give me some. If you're buying it from you know, from Costco, maybe not, but but you trying to support some small farmers, okay, I'll pay it. And I have, honey, I have.
You're right. I tell my mom all the time when we go eat out, like, you know, for pho, and you know, I'm paying $12 or $15. She goes, oh my God, how much are you tipping? You already paid for the bowls. I'm like, but they're serving. I got it. And I love my mom. I love you, Mom. Don't worry. I'm not making fun of you. But I'm like, Mom, this is America. No, let me tip. Let me pay for this, please. Don't embarrass me.
I mean, I think the value of having recipes, because we have a pho recipe in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it, you could see how fucking labor intensive it is. And maybe if you start making it, then when you go out to eat it, you can kind of appreciate why it costs the way it costs or how much it costs. Or I hope there's some consumer education about that too. I mean, same thing with Red Boat, really, because again, like the price point is this, you know, like that is something people talk about a lot, that Red Boat is more expensive than everybody else. And part of the book is just shining a light on the production process, how much labor is involved, how much time is involved in making really good fish sauce, how much time going spent sourcing really good salt. I mean, just, you think salt is such a throwaway ingredient, but he spent so much time sourcing really good salt, and he pays for very high quality salt. And that translates to what you end up having in the bottle. So hopefully that translates in terms of people appreciating this sort of work.
I think so, and because of this book and also what their work and both your works, it's getting there. Because I mean, I'm just saying, do you think people are gonna start respecting more fish sauce more, and you know, not misunderstanding other umami laden foods? You know, are they gonna get over the fear of the funk? You know, is durian gonna get its shine finally? You know, like I feel like it's the time to just, you know, put the layer of xenophobia and fear out the window and just like try it. If you don't like it, fine. I mean, it's such a simple concept, right? Eat it, try it, don't like it, move on. It's like, but there's people who swear by it, you know? You know, it's.
I think there's so many different layers to that too, because it's not like, but the thing is that they say they hate fish sauce, but they love them some Thai food. I'm like, girl,
what do you think is in the Thai food?
Yeah, you know, all I can, like, do you understand what is in a Caesar salad? Okay, anchovies, you know, and it's rotted. It is fermented, just like the anchovies. So it's more like, I think that's more like, it's not like they don't like it. It's more like once they know it's like from a certain cuisine, for a certain origin, they start to like, But at the same time, like, you know, if you ever stand in a room full of Parmesan cheese, I bet you it stinks as much, you know, any kind of blue cheese. Like, you don't tell me you forget some blue cheese in your car, it's not gonna be funk, you know, like it is. So it's like, what? Food has aroma. That's what makes it taste good. Like fat is flavor, so is aroma. Aroma is flavor. So you want your chicken nuggets? I mean, for me, I kind of don't really care. Like, man, you go have your bland food, your unseasoned bland food. Victimize yourself. That's fine with me. But I think it's more about. I think this is just like, we wanted to demonstrate. We want to be a voice that isn't apologetic coming in. That isn't apologizing in any way about this food. We love Mom Tom, we love this, we love Mom Name, we love it all, And so, and the thing is that Vietnamese people don't agree on durian. I don't particularly care for it, my whole family love it. My whole family loves it. And when I as a kid, I had to go in another room upstairs because I'm like, no, I'm not down with it, So it's but when I don't love it, we don't like gross Vietnamese people. I'm just not into it. Or you have to politely say, em không có biết ăn, It's like, I don't know how to eat that. I'm so ignorant. I don't know how to eat that. So maybe if like dominant culture was that humble, like, I don't know how to eat that. I'm like, okay, you dumb. You haven't educated your palate enough to eat it. Okay, we let you go.
That's
not insulting somebody. That's telling you on you.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of have this theory that way more people are actually okay with fish sauce and durian than is actually represented, because to be honest, it never occurred to me that fish sauce is funky. And so I started really writing about food. And then I realized how many editors wanted to include that adjective in my pieces, right?
Well, funky is like the polite. Sometimes
those called stinky.
Yeah.
Or are you sure you don't want to address the smell? And like, that's just not something it did not occur to me that people thought that way about fish sauce. And then I think, if you kind of buy into that, you do internalize it, and then the stuff that you write, you kind of have to apologize for it. And so I do think that a lot of the audience, especially for this book, for so many books out there, like, I think a lot of the audience does not think it's actually that stinky or that funky. It's just we've been just media has kind of trained us to think it is, to kind of second guess our own senses. And so yeah, I mean, I think, hopefully things will change, but yeah, I don't really think that as many people think it's that off-putting as I think media sometimes says it is.
Yeah, and then like, I think the true crime is really like convincing other Asians to also apologize in the beginning of their recipes for the stink. I'm like, don't do it, don't do it, don't go into the sunken place, like, no, somebody stop with that teacup, because I was just like, no, it's not stinky, it's Tom, no, when you talk to Vietnamese people and they talk about like good fish sauce, like, like they actually say that. So I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, because it
is so insidious.
When I smell some good fish sauce, I'm like, I can't wait to put this on food. That's it. That's all I think,
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, classic, no time in the kitchen, but gotta eat, boiled eggs and fish sauce and rice. Just done. You're done. Like, amazing. Like, something happens when you, like, that fish sauce hits like a soft boiled egg yolk. It's a beautiful thing. And if you're lucky enough to have a duck egg, even better. That's me being shabby.
I'm not going to tell you how to get duck eggs. I mean, it's widely available, but I'm not going to do it.
Buying chicken eggs as well, don't worry, people, just try them both. It's all good. Now, with the success, that Red Boat has garnered in time, and as well as, people educating themselves through trying out these recipes, eating out at more restaurants, maybe exploring Vietnam. Hopefully when the borders open up again, we all can do that. Do you think that, and I'm talking about the sustainability with fish sauce, especially with Red Boat, how, industrialization in Vietnam, the changing atmosphere, climate change, and as well as maybe people who might mimic, the formula that Red Boat has done, copycats, because they see, hey, they're willing to pay for it. Why don't I do the same thing? Do you think these factors might, be roadblocks for the future of the company, as well as how to keep it sustainable? I know this is more from probably Cuong to answer, but what do you think? And this might be not just singled out on fish sauce alone. I'm sure other food infrastructures are also, susceptible to that kind of issues of climate and just the way we humans, raise the land so much,
Yeah. I mean, that actually is something that Kun kind of talks about. Like he mentioned, I think we mentioned in the book, I can't remember, but one thing he said before is that when he first started fishing, when he started the company, the anchovies swam much closer to shore, and as that part of Cookbook became more developed, there's a lot more development there, and also climate change, like the anchovies started changing the patterns, and so the fishermen just had to go out further and further and further into the ocean to catch the anchovies. It's not necessarily because I think anchovies spawn, like they're actually one of the more sustainable fishes, because they spawn so frequently and there's good spawn rates for
that
them.
particular one.
That particular one.
Yeah, I think European anchovies are a little endangered.
Yeah. So so they just had to go out further to catch the anchovies. And so I think there is part of it. I mean, he has said that, it is possible that in the future we might not have fish sauce like this, or the way it is now. We have to adapt, figure out something different. And that's just one more reason to really appreciate what we have at the moment, and then really appreciate to be really good stewards of the sea, like just to be very mindful of the way that these anchovies are harvested, because he does have sustainable practices in terms of how they catch the anchovies, and just to be mindful of that going forward. But yeah, I mean, he's quite literally a small fish in a huge pond, right? Like his company is tiny compared to the huge companies that, if they made big changes in the way they fish, would probably have a lot more impact,
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. Capitalism is a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah.
That way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think to address I hope more artisanal fish sauce makers come to the fore, because I don't necessarily believe in competition. I think in the Vietnamese community sometimes it's just about competition all the time, and it's like like when the idea of sustainable cuisine came on and people started to produce artisanal products, they wanted more people to do that because they wanted to create a movement, and they wanted to change food systems. And so there's more people making first press fish sauce, more people making quality fish sauce that eschews industrial methods. It's good, so but I understand, like, refugee mentality is like hoard my mountain of salt, and then it's like, don't do that, so I can like it's something that I think we definitely, we're not the company, but I don't think that's the vibe that we get.
Oh no, y'all are like, you're too cool. You're very cool. So you're gonna be doing fine. I have there's some questions by the audience. Oh, so how do you spell caw? So I believe it's KHO or caw. Yeah. So it's you can say it's as caw, but don't worry about saying it like a bird, or caw. All right.
Exactly. Answer the call.
Yes.
Answer the call.
All right, response. Jonathan says, how does one evaluate the quality of fish sauce? What should one look for? And the second part, how does one choose between Red Boat, Mega Chef, Three Crabs, or something else?
Yeah, I think it's more like what you're looking for. I think there are no fast rules in terms of taste. Choose what you think tastes great to you. Mm-hmm. But if you're having a hard time deciphering that for yourself, or having some sort of like rubric to judge, for me, I really do like a product that with ingredients I can pronounce. And so you look in a great way is to just look at the ingredient list. The more ingredients in there, that means the more they needed to put in to make it taste right. You know what I mean? So Red Bull only has 2 ingredients, salt and anchovy, done. So if that's important to you, but I don't like these rules, but so it's more like, why I was really interested in Red Boat in the beginning before working with them as a consultant, it's just like, wow, this is so, like for me, it's like, this is the first artisanal Vietnamese product I've seen in the market. And I just see it ushering in all these new products that are like unapologetically Asian, not just Vietnamese, and like it gets this treatment that it should have always had. And so for me, it's a cultural benefit too, and then, but I think Red Boat, like, it's great if you kind of just put all your fish sauces out on the table, pour it into little, ramekins, and just have a little sniff smell, and you'll get to see like what aroma is speaking to you. And I guarantee you, it won't be squid. It's like, there's like Red Boat, like there's something, because it's age 12 months, so it's like they call it like zeal, like it's still gentle, it's got a viscosity to it. It's it's like, it's salty obviously, but the a little kind of back note of sweetness, but not from sugar. Because that's kind of like, if you say sweetness in fish sauce, you look in the label, if you see sugar, that's the reason why they're trying to emulate what first press 12 months decanting will do, so I think that's, but again, like I think it's, I wouldn't say like, Red Bull's the only fish sauce I think that's really classes, like hey, if you can, your budget is squid, and it's still gonna be good, but but maybe you'll flush this month, maybe some fish sauce. But just think about, like, are you saying you can't afford this fish sauce, or are you saying you don't want to pay more for fish sauce? So those are two very different things, because I might be looking at you and you're wearing some Prada shit, you're wearing some Gucci fit, and then I'm gonna be like, so it's not, don't say you can't afford it, you don't want to pay for it. So those are two different okay, and they're not fakes,
There's also the nitrogen level,
yes,
which is like a Red Bull has 40 degrees of nitrogen, which is just kind of a shortcut to say, like, there's different levels of nitrogen levels in fish sauce, and Vietnam classifies them, like, I think 40 degrees or 35 degrees and above.
I think 40 degrees is the quality,
is like the quality one, and that just tells you like how much protein is in a certain amount of fish sauce. And so the kind of the higher that level is, the more protein it is, and that protein translates to umami, the savoriness. So so a lot of bottles will tell you, like, obviously Red Boat says 40 degrees on theirs, a lot of other bottles will tell you as well. So that's kind of a shortcut way to
actually a lot of bottles wouldn't. It's it's a little rare in the US. In Vietnam it's better.
Yeah,
it's more transparent. But I think squid is like 13, 15, something like that. And I think I'm being generous, So, but again, that's kind of more like intellectual.
Yeah.
But just use what tastes good to you.
Yeah.
But really, seriously, like try a nước chấm with Red Boat, and I think you kind of, because it's the kind of a very pure form of that. Or you try nước chấm. You try a caw, like a caw quẹt, and you're like, okay,
All right, we got Mike Chi Wu says, you joked about this earlier, but what are y'all eating for that? So
bánh chưng.
We're definitely we're making bánh chưng, and we're gonna eat bánh chưng.
And definitely some caw too.
Yeah. I'm the caw maker in the family, so I'm making caw for Tien's mom. Maybe we'll make a pie. You know what I mean? We're
I'm definitely eating both what you all said, and my mom will make some soy. I don't some soy, but it'd be a lot of food. That's all I know.
Yeah,
more food than I would like to take home, which she'll probably make me do. Renee asks, thoughts on refrigeration. Some people say store higher quality sauces in the fridge to slow the change.
I never store my Red Boat, but I think what happens is that Red Boat, it's a pure product in the sense that it's a raw product, and so it'll keep on oxidizing. Once you open the bottle, this air comes in, it'll oxidize and get darker and darker, and some people don't like that, so put it in the fridge, kind of arrest the oxidation. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Vietnamese people, we use it up before it goes bad. I mean, maybe it's like, if you're the person who buys one bottle a year, fridge it. If you're the person that buys one case a week, don't fridge it.
See?
But I keep it out all the time.
Yeah, it gets used up in my household. I always feel like it's the same bottle, but no, it's a new one. It's almost empty again. Thanks, Mom.
Never-ending bottle.
Basically, I think we're gonna get wrapped up. But future projects that we have looking forward from both of you or Red Boat, let us know the nitty gritty if you can spill the beans if you need.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on a couple more cookbooks, but I can't talk about them just yet. So
Woo!
that's all.
All right. Well, zoom in. No, don't zoom in. Low resolution. Don't worry. Nothing. You can't get that. How about you, Diep?
What am I doing? Yeah, I think I'm just focused on the Bunchen Collective, and I don't have a brain for anything else right now. But yeah, we're celebrating our 10 years. Woo-hoo! So it's 10 years of like a queer-centric celebration, So yeah, that's pretty exciting, and just seeing kind of returning teachers and like I feel like people like ask like, well, why do you do this? Like, it's because as a young queer, going to TIEN was like just like soul crushing, like, and then just having to like smile and nod at people saying the most atrocious things to you, and then finally my therapist at the time go, why do you do this? I'm like, I don't know why I did. I'm not gonna do this anymore. And since I was 25 years old, I stopped going to TIEN, and it was the best thing for my mental health. But then I realized like, oh, I kind of like threw everything out. So 10 years ago, I said like, I'm just gonna celebrate TIEN on my own terms. And I think that's gonna resonate with, women, queers. And it was just like a tradition for myself. And I just, when I stopped the restaurant, I expanded it to like, hey, anybody who like is just tired of their family, they're racist, homophobic, xenophobic, Trumper family, they can go have TIEN here. We're doing it virtually this year, but it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be super fun.
If people have never checked out the Beng Chung Collective, please do. And if you ever never ate Beng Chung, go talk to your local Vietnamese person and find out where you can get a giant log or square of it, because that will last you at least a week or two. Trust. But it's delicious, so don't worry about it. Any last words you'd like to offer the people out there, and where can people find you? Yeah.
You can find me on IG at Diep. So Diep EETTE.
You're looking at her like, right?
Where is it? Right? Yeah, I'm on Instagram too. Two underscores. It's very annoying, but it's just what it is. 2 underscores, my first name TIEN, and then 2 underscores after that. I really need to rethink my IG handle. And yeah, I don't really have any final words.
Well, you can find a book at any independent bookstore. We really, Amazon is great. Really? No. Anyway, if you don't have to buy from Amazon, but it's the only way you can get it, it's fine. Yeah. But yeah, we support your local bookstore. Yeah, and libraries. And your library too. Yes.
We do have a copy, and I'm sure your local library does have a copy. So, but as I've seen the holds, it's quite popular right now. So be patient. Aww. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Aw.
Yeah.
And can I answer Jean's question real quick? Why the taste of fish sauce and why it's so pure? Just 2 ingredients: salt and anchovies, been fermented in a barrel for 12 months. Yeah, delicious.
So simple, 2 ingredients, but a whole lot of delicious.
Actually, I always said there's 3 ingredients: anchovies, salt, and thyme. Like, you have to have the thyme. That's the investment.
There you go, just like Mom. A whole lot of time.
Investing in you.
I'm investing in you.
Be a lawyer. Be a lawyer.
I'm investing in you. Be a lawyer or take over my family business, which I did not, and decided to go another route. And thank God I did that.
We're glad you did that too.
I know. Oh, I'm so happy to be talking with you too. It's so great, Everybody out there, please pick up the Red Boat Fish Sauce Cookbook. Support these 2 individuals and all their endeavors. They're a lot of fun, and they do help me keep sane and hopeful that there are going to be some great food and writing in the future. And for those of you out there, I know if for those who probably saw my Instagram post, if you are a member of the Santa Clara City Library or close to the library, there will be a questionnaire at the end of the session. It will probably pop up right after the session or email, it'll email to the email that you sent us. But if you fill out a questionnaire and the first 20 people, we got 20 little bottles of Red Bull fish
so
sauce.
cute.
We will drop those off at the local Santa Clara City Library branch or where you are closest to.
Nice.
Now, remember, you have to be living near the area. I ain't not, shipping this out in the mail. You know what this will happen with this if it shatters. Don't blame me. I got no popcorn or cotton balls to help you out with that. So you're gonna pick it up yourself. But finish that questionnaire and you have a chance to get contacted to get one of these bottles. But Tien, Diep, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for being with me. We gotta hang out. When you're in San Jose, I got you.
Let's do it. Let's increase our blood pressure. Let's do it.
Blood pressure. All right, too much fun right now. I'm just gonna end it here. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Support libraries, support chefs, support writers, support people doing passionate things with their lives that help a lot of people, and support yourselves by joining us for the next one. But until then, please be safe, take care of one another, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, y'all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Love ya.